So Nick is doing a podcast called Pitchfork Economics that's going to be on the TYT network. His organization is called Civic Ventures. And Nick is a wonderful progressive who's been fighting to raise wages for everybody. Now, you helped finance and found 30 different companies.
37, but.
Okay, 37, whatever. 37. Who's counting? Who's counting? But why didn't you just build moats and just keep it and not worry about wages for other people?
Now you're asking a deep psychological question that only my mom could answer. I don't know. Just didn't seem like the right thing to do. And to be clear, if the economy and the democracy collapse, it won't be that fun to be rich either.
Yeah. I quote you on that all the time.
Yeah, and we're definitely headed that way. That we've created a set of policies that basically have turned the economy into this death spiral of falling demand, which both harms businesses long term, but also leads to the kind of insane polarization that we have in our politics, and just generally makes it a bummer to be an American.
Yeah.
I just feel really strongly that we have to get the country back on track. And the core of that is to make sure that every American who has a job gets paid enough to live a dignified life without having to rely on food stamps.
Right. So Pitchfork Economics gets released Tuesday, December 11th. That's when it begins. So for the folks at home, what do you do on the podcast?
So what we wanted to do was do a podcast that was solely devoted to issues around economics and political economy. And to highlight the ways in which our, all of the conversation around economics in our country, both on the right and left, has been hijacked by a bunch of terrible neoliberal ideas, neoclassical economic and neoliberal ideas. And the simple truth is that a lot of what passes for economic orthodoxy is simply nonsense, a story rich people tell poor people. You can think of neoliberalism really as a protection racket. When somebody like Paul Ryan says raising wages kills jobs, it sounds like a claim on objective reality. What it really is an intimidation tactic masquerading as economic theory. There's no empirical evidence that raising wages kills jobs, but if you scare the heck out of working people that it will, it's a great way to keep profits high and wages low. And the problem is that even a bunch of economists on our side still believe those things, that they grew up with neoclassical economics, the idea of equilibrium, homo economicus, all these old bad ideas. And if you take those ideas seriously, the claim raising wages kills jobs seems intuitive and true. It just turns out that on planet Earth, that doesn't obtain. And so somebody needs to confront those terrible ideas, disaggregate the lot of them, and knock them down one by one, and give people both the awareness that they're being told a lie, but also the confidence to push back against those terrible ideas and advocate for policy that actually will benefit working and middle class people in America.
Yeah, and if you watch the show frequently, you'll hear me quote Nick from time to time because he's got a great way of framing things. And so I love what he just said there about how it's going to cost you your job. It's really an intimidation tactic.
Yeah.
That's why they do it. It's not a real economic principle, or certainly not backed up by the facts.
No.
It's just a way to scare you.
It's a negotiating strategy.
Yeah.
You ask for a raise, I threaten to fire you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the oldest.
But it's exactly, but the way that Paul Ryan and the Republicans do it, it's writ large.
Yes.
Like on a macro level.
Exactly.
We're going to threaten to fire all of you.
Exactly. So you ask for a raise, I threaten to fire you is the oldest trick in the business person's wage suppression handbook, right? It's just that when Paul Ryan says raising wages kills jobs, he spares people like me from having to have the pesky one-on-one conversations, right?
Yeah,
right. It's just a way of instantiating a lie and a narrative that keeps working people poor and very rich people rich. And the thing is that people need to hear it that way. And Cenk, what we have to do and what you do that's so useful is you're turning fear into anger. and that's the way you create change. When people stop being afraid and they start being angry, that's where change comes from. And that's why this is so important.
I hear you, brother, and that's why being angry on the left is actually useful for a change. We only get it from the right usually. So that's going to start on Tuesday. Obviously, my guess is a lot of you liked what Nick just said. You're going to get a lot more of that on the podcast, so please check it out wherever podcasts are available. By the way, his books are also The True Patriot and Gardens of Democracy, and I think you'll love those too. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.